Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Bit of an impromptu video. I think this is going to be a theme for me now. I'm just going to record when things just pop up for me. So today's video is something that I normally wouldn't talk about, but it really hit home for me. So I felt like, why not just express myself and just put it out there, see if maybe it helps someone who was in a similar situation that I was. There is a very popular streaming service that has done a special about spiritual cults, which I will not name just for my own like safety, so no one sues me or anything, or my channel doesn't get in trouble. So pretty much what I wanted to talk about is honestly just a reminder to watch out for these salesmen who are under the guise of spiritual gurus or teachers, because these characters are quite literally predators who target people who are in vulnerable and emotional states. The reason you want to be mindful, if you ever find yourself in this kind of state, which is a normal and natural state for many of us in a lot of different points in our lives, just because I doubt that you're going to live your life confidently from like 1 to 90 since you're born. Like, you're going to be caught in some vulnerable and emotional points in your life. But you just have to be very wary of the people you surround yourself with when you are in these kind of states, because when you're in these points in your lives, the reason being is that when you are feeling emotional or vulnerable, you are very, very susceptible to manipulation and suggestion. It is incredibly easy to fall to a teacher or guru or a salesperson, as I like to say, if you're looking for someone to be your strength or someone to give you the answers, or to just fall into this cycle of needing validation from somebody in order to live your life, or rather like constant validation. There's no issue with it if it's like every now and then, you just want to make sure you're on the right track. But when you start feeding an addiction to validation or seeking answers or just giving your power away and relying on someone else to tell you who to be, what to do, how to live your life, that is where the trouble begins, because you start giving your power away, and what happens, you start losing yourself even more than if you were already lost. It's a cycle. And the same thing happens with tarot readings, because we can get addicted to them, and we can get addicted to constantly wanting to find out the answer, constantly needing validation. If we start to get in this cycle of doubting our paths or who we are, our decisions, and relying like, I need to know what the cards are going to say. I need to make sure I don't make a mistake. I need to make sure I'm not going the wrong way. And it's just so easy to get caught in that cycle. And you really have to ask yourself, especially when you're dealing with spiritual things like tarot readings or teachers or anything, what are you seeking out of it? You really have to ask yourself. And you have to constantly ask yourself, what are you seeking out of it? Are you looking for someone to constantly validate you? Are you looking for someone to constantly validate your decisions? What is it that you can't validate for yourself? Is really what you got to ask. You can feel what's right for you. You really can. Once you tune out the external, that's why meditation is really great for this. You can feel what's right for you, not up here. In here, your body does not lie. And your mind can get just stuck in these like cycles and processes, but your body's never going to lie about its actual state. Your body's never going to lie what feels right for you or what isn't. So really what I want to point out here is that your body is never going to lie to you, because you have that innate intuition. Like up here, you might get really confused about what should I do this, what should I do that, because your mind is constantly filtering things out. And there's a lot of information to process out there. We're not living in the Stone Age anymore, where all we had to worry about was like saber-toothed lions and where are we going to get the next meal. Now we have to worry about, our families, our jobs, our health insurance, or, whatever, things like that. There's a lot that we have to worry about these days. Where are we going to live? Where are we going to move? How are we going to pay rent? When are we going to buy a house? Things like that. Your mind can get really confused, right? And distracted by everything else that's going on, everything else you have to worry about and process. However, when you tune all of that out and you really sit with yourself and, like, for instance, meditate, and you really get quiet with yourself, you can feel what's right for you. You really can. You can feel what brings up, if you're meditating on, like, should I take path A or path B? Does path A make you feel anxious? Does path B feel more peaceful? Things like that. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. So, drawing this back to my point is, when you start tuning into what other people are telling you, you're really very much, you're ignoring, like, your own path. Nobody else is going to know your path better than you. It's just the truth of it. The reason that I am bringing this up today, and why I got so riled up watching this just really frustrating documentary, is, and honestly, sometimes I'm just like, there's no way that people fall for this, but unfortunately, people do. And I was not in a group I was in a group that was not unlike the one that was portrayed. It wasn't as bad, I think, as some of these, like, cults are, but it was very culty. I'm freezing in here. But anyways, yeah, it was a very spiritual group. We talked about spiritual topics. It was very much revolved around this one teacher. And although there were many things in this experience that brought me healing, there were also just as many things that caused me a lot of harm. And I didn't really recognize it at the time when I was in it, because I was very much in it, like a lot of people in these kind of, like, culty groups tend to experience. But it was like a constant cycle of, like, validation, and then chasing this validation, and then, like, living on this one person's, like, every word, living through it as, like, gospel, And it wasn't necessarily that I believed this, like, leader's word was gospel, but when you're feeling desperate and you're in a desperate situation, you will latch onto anything outside of yourself as a lifeline. And I say this because I used to be one of those desperate people, and it's because you fall into this, like, belief for some reason. I don't know why, especially, like, in the spiritual community, this is so prevalent, but you just, for some reason, people believe that someone else is way more ascended, more connected, higher than they are in some way. And that's just so false. It's just so false. Someone might have more life experience, sure, but does that mean that their life experience is going to apply to your life in your generation? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So that's why you also have to remember, all the advice that you receive from one person or another is going to be filtered through their lens of perception. And it's funny because I feel like this is actually, I feel like I'm getting this from Spirit. As they're, like, dropping in these little reminders. I wasn't even, like, planning to connect or anything, but you got to remember, the advice that you receive from any intuitive, any medium, anything like that, is going to be filtered through their lens of perception. So it's not necessarily going to be the right advice for you. Anywho, if you're going to be asking me what happened with this group, I left, or was kicked out, rather. And you know what? I think that was the universe doing me a fat fucking favor. Excuse my language, but it was such a huge favor, because it really broke the rose-colored glasses for me. And you know what was the first thing that I thought of when that moment happened, when I was, like, excommunicated from this group? It wasn't a religious group, just putting that out there. But I blamed myself. I was like, I did something wrong. Oh my gosh, I'm the worst person. Like, I wasn't good enough, things like that. Oh my gosh. I hate thinking back to that because I, you know, went through those motions of like, I did something wrong. I need to get back to this group. They were my community, they were my friends. And having lost that, it was, I don't think I really felt as sad as I was angry, because that kind of like broke the ice for me. It like smashed the rose colored glasses of, this whole thing was stupid. Like, this group was stupid. I can't believe I believed like this shit. The truth is that leaving these kind of groups or schools or classes or whatever, that have these kind of dynamics and characters, is when you leave them, like, you realize how much energy you were giving away to them. I think this kind of goes with anything too, not just like groups that you're a part of, but you just really want to be aware of how much you're giving away to something. How much you're giving away to something. Because when I, left that group, everything kind of just exploded and became super abundant and flourishing for me. And suddenly I was able to, instead of constantly seeking like validation or answers from someone else, or being like, oh, I need to cross-check this with like my teacher or whatever, I realized like I could just trust myself. And that, like, why don't I just trust myself? Doubt is very prevalent. Doubt is a big thing for a lot of us. Me especially. I'm sure like there are a few on this channel who can resonate. And you always want to make sure you're not going to make the wrong move. Well, you know what? Make the wrong move. You came here to live a human life. You did not come here to live a perfect life. Oh my God, I just heard like a giant ringing in my ear. Validation. You came here to live a human life. Human life means you're here to make mistakes, play them out, see what happens. Why don't you just come here to live a human life? Why do you have to go find your number one soulmate, your number one twin flame or whatever? Why do you have to find, the only life purpose that you think you have? That's all. That's just, I don't know. I just think it's just so silly that people are just really fighting their humanity and really fighting the human experience of, maybe the next person you meet isn't going to be your divine romantic, divine masculine counterpart, flame, soul, whatever, maybe you're not here to live an ascended life. Maybe you're literally here just to go on vacation and work and enjoy the relationships, the down-to-earth relationships that you have. The ones that aren't out there in the universe on the astral plane, the ones that are down here. Sorry, it just gets me so riled up because people are chasing something outside of themselves and outside of this experience that has so much to offer in terms of just grounded, down-to-earth experiences. I don't know. Sorry, this is probably just my frustration coming out of how woo-woo things can be, and I don't know, I mean, I used to be like that. I'm really just grateful for my experiences that I've had, many of which were not positive, many of which were positive, but all of which have led me to really realize that I am so much more happier living a grounded life. I'm so much more happier not having my life revolve around spirituality and pushing to live this incredibly like mystical, woo, dreamy, magical life, which it is in many ways, but not like that. It is in many ways, but not like that. I don't have to go on a hike and touch every mushroom or plant or leaf and meditate with it to feel magical. I can just be in the woods and be like, this is incredible that the earth is a living being, that these trees have been here for who knows how many thousands of years, that, this whole ecosystem knows its function and knows its role and it does it perfectly. Like, that's magical to me, okay? Like, that's a spiritual experience to me. It's not necessarily any kind of substances, and, I'm not bagging on that, but it doesn't have to be that. And I think people really pigeonhole spirituality into that because it's trendy. It's what's trendy right now. It's what does well. It's what you see all the influencers doing. And I just prefer a more down-to-earth approach. That's really bottom line. That's my message. More down-to-earth approach. I'm happier for it. I'm healthier for it. And, you know, I hope there's something out of this rant that can provide some perspective and help for anyone who may be caught up in any of this, you know, this kind of stuff. I do want to point out something very, very important that I forgot to mention earlier is that when I got out of this group, I became friends with a lot more people of varying beliefs, which kept me grounded. When you surround yourself with like-minded people, on one hand, it's actually fantastic because you feel like you have community and support and people understand you. But that doesn't challenge your discernment in many ways. Because when you have people with varying beliefs and people with varying perspectives, you can gain a little bit of everything and see maybe this resonates with me, maybe that doesn't. Oh, but I like this. I feel like there's a point from this person that resonates in here for me too. Maybe I should look into that as well. But when you're surrounding yourself with only like-minded people, you get that kind of herd mentality. So, something to think about. And at the end of the day, what I really want to point out is something I've said before, and that is whatever you are told, whatever you hear, you know, anything that comes your way, if it doesn't resonate, don't make it resonate. If it doesn't already make sense with who you are, with your life, with where you're going, don't force it. Don't force it to make sense. If someone tells you there is, you know, oh my gosh, if someone tells you, oh my gosh, you've been doing some kind of crazy witchcraft, you open a portal in your room and you haven't done a single thing of the sorts, and you start thinking, well, maybe it's because I stirred my coffee counterclockwise 3 times instead of 2 times this morning. No, just if it doesn't vibe with you, don't take it. Just don't. It's not yours. Anywho, you are beautiful, you are smart, you are intelligent, you're a genius, you're incredibly loved, and you can do anything in this life. So with that, I leave you, I end this video. If you've sat through it this far, you're amazing. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.